Hey, how's you going, boys? Mike here. Welcome back to Grampie's workshop. We're going to do some more work on our 3.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton small engine that I've been rebuilding. I'm sure enjoying this. It's good fun. I'm learning a lot of things. And one of the things I learned last time was you can't properly seat your valves if the tappets are installed. So anyways, I had to take the crankcase apart so I could get the tappets out so I can lap these valves in. So that's what we're up to today. We're going to lap these valves, put some grinding compound in there, lap them in good. Let's see how we make out today. So just a quick update. I've taken the sump cover off and then I've taken the camshaft out. I've taken the two tappets out of their locations here. So now we're ready to seat some valves. So the way I plan on seating the valve is this seat right here. You can see that. I need that to mesh up with the shoulder of the valve here. Now if you look on the shoulder of this valve, let me show you a close-up here. On this valve there's a little shoulder right here, you can see that mark. And what we want to do is we want to put some valve grinding compound on the shoulder of the valve and on the seat. Then we'll insert the valve, and then we'll take our valve grinding tool, which by the way this was, you know, I'm just going to tell you a quick story about the valve grinding tool. This was the other one I had, pretty big cups on it, and it was too big to fit. So what I did, of course, naturally you go and you look on Amazon. And when I was looking on Amazon for valve grinding tool, I found one, there was a pair of them. There was this size, and then there was this size. And they were, the cheapest one I could find was like, I think 12 bucks. 12 bucks Canadian. It was going to take me 2 weeks to get this valve grinding tool, lapping tool, and I thought, well, yeah, all right, I guess that's what I'm going to have to do, because to go to town to get one, well, you'll never find one, and you know, you'll be paying through the nose, So anyway, I had my mind made up that I was going to order it on Amazon. But before I ordered it, I had to go to town anyhow. So when I was in town doing a few chores, I thought, what the heck, I went into Canadian Tire, and usually in Canadian Tire, I walk around for a long time before I find what I'm looking for. But I walked right over to the automotive section, and in the automotive section they had a little display set up there with a whole bunch of odds and ends. And here was a little valve grinding lapping tool with the small caps on it, and it was like $6.99 or $7.49 or something like that. I couldn't believe it. This was cheaper than anything I could see on Amazon, and it was right there. I brought it home that day. So just an FYI, Amazon, I always thought, you know, like if you want something, go there, you can find it for sure, and you can order it and get it quick. Well, it turns out that Amazon prices aren't the best, and they're certainly not 3 or 4 or 5 day deliveries anymore. It's something more like a week, 2 or 3 weeks before you see it when you order it. So anyway, just a heads up. Not saying that Amazon is not a good spot to shop, because I think it is, but shopping local is proving more and more to be the better thing to do. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the intake valve first. So I'm going to take this intake valve with a little bit of grinding compound, and it doesn't take a whole pile, or I don't think it does. Maybe, you know, I'm no expert in this, that's for sure. So maybe an expert could say, oh God, whack the old grinding compound to her. But to me, the grinding compound, there's a fine grit in the grinding compound, and then there's the grease that the grit is sort of suspended in. And all you want is that grit in there. You don't want, you don't need a whole armload of grinding compound. Alright, so we have that on both surfaces. I insert the stem in the valve guide, set that down in place. So we're going to wet the cup on the valve grinder, and I'm just putting some saliva on that. So we set that on there, and I'm using the bigger end of them, so that holds the valve pretty good. So you can hear that grinding noise. And it doesn't take a lot. Well, it depends how bad the valve is, of course, but and like, I'm no expert, but I'm trying to push down on this too as I'm rotating it. Okay, let's have a look. I didn't do a whole lot of grinding, but What we want to do is see a nice even shoulder mark around the valve stem. Can't see much of anything in that, so I'll wipe the compound off it. And now if we examine that, you'll see there's a dark spot, and then a light gray spot and a dark spot. And that light gray spot, if we follow that around the whole valve, it looks pretty evenly wore there, right? So that's telling me that that's a good seal right there with the seat. And even when I examine the valve seat here now, I see a nice even wear mark all the way around. So I'm guessing that my intake valve is properly seated. Now, when I tried to do this before and the tappets were in place, I wasn't sure, first of all, what the clearance was, but when I measured it with my feeler gauges, it was like 2/10 of an inch between the valve stem and the end of the tappet. But I wasn't sure that I could seat the valve properly and still maintain zero or still have clearance between the valve stem and the tappet. So that's why I wanted to take the tappets out, to make sure I could seat my valve in there good. Now on the exhaust valve, you see that there's no gray marks at all, no wear marks at all visible on this. So this might be a good test to see how that goes. Okay, so once again, a little bit of valve grinding compound on the shoulders here. I guess the key to this, when you think about what's actually taking place, is you want to get a good even coverage around the shoulder of the valve, so that when you lap it, rotate it back and forth, all the surfaces have compound on them, so that they all will wear and grind in equally. Alright, let's try this one. Just a little bit of down pressure as you're grinding it. So you just lap it back and forth. So we take our valve back out, clean it off a little bit. And now if we examine this, we'll see the dark spot and then the light gray and then the dark again. And as we go around the valve, you see that nice gray marking on it. So that's telling me that it's seating all the way around pretty decent. And then of course, because there's grit in that valve grinding compound, you want to make sure that you get it good and clean, because you don't want any of that grit to show up in the engine. So I got some carb cleaner here, so why not use it, right? So we clean things up a little. Okay, so we have our valves seated. There wasn't a whole lot to that. So now I'm going to assemble everything back together again here. There's no sense watching that because I've already done that. And when we come back, I'm going to be checking the valve clearances. So after kind of a step backwards there, having to take that crankcase apart again to get the tappets out, so that the valves would go down far enough into their seat, if they had to, that I could get a good grind on them. So, and then having the proper lapping tool, what a difference that made, right? It stuck the little suction cup fit on the valve top a lot better. It made it easy to grind. And it doesn't take a lot, you know. I was thinking when I first started, you know, I'm going to have to grind here for half the day, but it doesn't take a lot of grinding just to clean that seat off. Now I think my valves were seated pretty good to start with, so that would make a big difference. But then getting that reassurance of that nice, clear, distinct gray band that was around the shoulder and seat of the valve, that made me feel good that I'm going to have some good sealing going on there in those valves. So That's pretty good. I like the way that worked out. In my next episode now, I hope to measure the clearance of the valves for the intake and the exhaust, and then put the valve springs in, get the head on it, put a few like the breather cover on it and things like that, and you never know, maybe you can get a flywheel on it. We'll see. So I hope you come back for the next episode, but I'm finding this interesting. I'm learning so much doing this, and you know, it's going to help me out a lot, and you know, I hope it helps you too. That's all I can say about that, right? Alright, if you're new to the channel, thanks very much for coming by. It's just great to have you. You know, I hope you come back often, and I hope you like the videos. And for my regular viewers, thanks very much. I sure love it when you come and watch my videos and when you leave comments. And I try to respond to every comment. So, thanks for all that. And in the meantime, everybody, I'd like you to thumbs up me. And I hope you all have a great week. And we'll talk to you.